As a family, we love one another. We love our children. That is our common goal. So we may not agree in the way things are going or the style that we adopt, but again, go back to the common goal. We are working towards this, and then we're building each other up.
Hello and welcome to the Connect to Marriage podcast. I'm Aaron and I'll be your host for today's episode. If you're new here, we'll love for you to subscribe to the Connect to podcast on your favorite platform. You'll discover engaging topics and conversations designed to strengthen your marriage. In each episode, we tackle real questions couples ask about communication, conflict, and the everyday challenges of married life. Our hope is simple, that as you listen, you grow closer, deeper, stronger in your relationship. In our previous conversation, Chun Huan and Morica shared honestly about the ups and downs of raising 5 children. Today, I'm delighted to have them back with us to talk about how they've managed to keep love alive through the different seasons of family life. Welcome back to the Connect 2 podcast, Chun Huan and Morica.
Thank you for having us again.
To start us off, could you share a fun fact about each other?
Morica is pretty good in planning things. In a way, I allow her to plan, so she's always planning surprises, especially when it comes to holiday trips. That's a little thing that we usually do because it keeps our sanity in that sense and keeps her motivated where she looks forward. So when the kids are small, I'll tell her, hey, year-end, let's go for a trip. And that will motivate her. She will start planning accordingly. And sometimes she gets the kids involved by saying, hey, where you want to go? I thought that was something unique about her.
Fun fact about Chun Huan, he's an accountant trained, so he's a very logical person. But yet he is a very creative person. He likes to do dressed up in different character.
Creative accountant.
Yeah. So it's kind of like there's a disparity, not creative in terms of visual arts, but creative in terms of language and expressing himself. Yeah.
That's why you're on the podcast.
Yeah, that's right. We are here.
So the last time you shared about the challenges of raising a large family, building on that, how has this journey stretched you or your marriage in ways you didn't expect?
One of the key things managing a big family is the ability to handle situations. More than often, things happen not the way you plan. Kids will spill water here and there. Maybe they injured themselves. So a lot of things are things that happen right on the spot. So contingency planning, staying cool at the moment, trying to think of as many alternatives as possible. I think these are things that I guess I have become better in handling situations that just snap at the moment.
Yeah, having 5 children, everyone is so different. Both of us say, we are okay with math, but our kids are struggling, especially my youngest. She belongs to the creative, sleepy kind of child. So when it comes to her, even we have 4 other experiences, but it just doesn't work. So we struggle on that, what is the best way to grow her? And that actually brings up a lot of challenges when we were raising her in her growing years. How to get her through PSLE.
Uniquely, you will find that each child is different. The characters are different. So you really need to understand your child, the behavior, and that comes with over time that you observe, time that you talk and communicate. So it's important to understand each child and don't use the same technique on each of them. You need to vary a little bit based on their uniqueness.
So in the midst of all this like stretching and the challenges, I imagine there must also been some hilarious moments with your family or with each other too. Can you recall perhaps a funny incident that reminded yourselves, no, don't take yourselves too seriously?
Yeah, I always remember this. My number 4 is very hard to feed. She doesn't really eat. But then as a parent, you want to feed them. Parents like babies to be fat, chubby kind. This one doesn't want to eat. She likes to suck her thumb. So you get very frustrated when you try to feed. There was one time I remember, I got so frustrated, I took the whole bowl of cereal and just pour over her head. Out of that frustration. Of course, then subsequently I got to clean her up lah. Then you feel a bit, I have overreacted. Yeah, but I remember that very well because it's an incident that reminds me I really need to manage my temperament at that point of time. Kids will test you, will stretch you, but you just stay your cool.
My youngest child, as I said, creative, always sleepy. She holds a pencil and sleep on the table. She asked to learn spelling. And I went through that with her for years. And even at preschool, getting to the bus is a chore because she's always late. Those are the stretching years.
We can laugh at all these moments, right? But I can imagine that the exhaustion is real, right? You mentioned having to do this again and again. So what does tension look like when you're both worn out? And how do you find your way back to each other again to connect with one another?
We must confess that we're not angels lah. Tempers do flare up, especially when both of us are tired. We are really thinking of different things at that point of time. How do we resolve? Well, sometimes a timeout is important. Give each other a little bit of space. At times, maybe we try to find something common to talk about so that we could just realign ourselves again. So I think these are quick and short methods that we have tried and they did work for us.
After a certain number of years, I think sometimes because of all the conflict, we do find ourselves estranged because we just cannot agree on why this thing is happening and then what have we not done or have done wrong. So the relationship kind of was a little bit stretched. And of course, people came along our way through sharing and say that, hey, why not go and attend together as a couple? The one that we attended was Alpha Marriage. We didn't know what to expect, but definitely I know it could be something that we need to work on. And when invited, my dear husband was saying, no, we do not need such things. And he was not willing to go. But the friend was so insistent and so convicted. She said, don't worry, let me invite him. And that's how we get onto the course.
In the thick of parenting, marriage sometimes feels that it takes a back seat, right? Because the children are the priority. And in this case, you have more than one, right? You have a lot more priorities than regular families, than any other families. So you did mention that this happened over a season of time. Is there a particular season that it happened for you? You mentioned about getting help, but how do you really navigate through that? Because attending a workshop is one thing, but actually working things out after that, how do you navigate that?
A lifetime of love and romance requires intentional effort and attention. Yet, in times of busyness and with overwhelming priorities to tend to, our marriages can often take a back seat. No matter the state of your relationship today, we want to help you and your spouse thrive. Check out Connect 2, featuring specially curated experiences and resources, our favorite selection of articles, top hits on our podcast, date ideas, conversation starters, and more to address the issues that are keeping you and your spouse apart and help you rekindle the joy of pursuing one another. Visit www.family.org.sg/connect2 today.
Through some materials, it's just between two of us. The course is just to facilitate, but the actual working out is still between two of us. We have to talk about communication, talking about knowing each other, and we discover we are just so opposite through, some of the tests that we do. And we kind of know, and then the way we express ourselves, he was being expressed as a porcupine, right? Yeah, that, your spikes are all out, whereas I'll be the silent one, but yet, he feels the flare coming up. So it's through this, each lesson we are made to do some practices. Couple time is one of them. No discussion after 10 p.m. is also another. And I think through time, things begin to slowly work out.
I must confess that Morica takes the initiative in terms of trying to find activities that we can do as a couple. Like she mentioned, she sourced for course that we could participate. She reads books as well, and then she, come, I show you this. In a way, she takes the proactive to try to see what we can do as a couple. I guess as a guy, we tend to be more focused on work, and she tend to take the initiative to say, hey, shall we do this together? Shall we do that together? In a way, I'm blessed. So it started as a very reluctant husband. But over the time, I guess I appreciate the efforts that she's trying to do. That's important. Appreciating what your spouse is wanting to do. I think we must have to open our eyes. Hey guys, you better open up your eyes, to see these little efforts that your wife is trying to do and make time for that.
So you mentioned that you attended a training of sorts, right? Were there other help along the way? Perhaps you mentioned a friend that kind of nudged you along?
It's an 8-week course, and then we went through the course weekly, kids not in, and then we talk things out through the materials. just the two of us, and then practice on the homework of each lesson. And subsequently, then we also participated as leaders to facilitate the program. Even as facilitator, we ourselves learn because it's a reminder again and again. I think we did another additional 2 times. And that continues on the practice between ourselves, put it into practical lessons.
That's so good. I can imagine that you're reinforcing, right, some of the things that you actually believe are important, and you commit time, in fact, to help other couples to do that. And really appreciate both of you for taking time, away from your busy schedule to even support other couples in their journey. And I can imagine as what Chun Huan mentioned earlier, for men, right, sometimes we don't really connect emotionally, and we don't really know how to take the next step forward. It could be perhaps our families, the way we're brought up, we cannot feel, or we don't know how to feel. Yeah, but just being able to relate with our spouse is so important. Beyond outside help, right, I can also imagine there were some personal choices that you made for yourself. So what were some intentional steps do you take to protect your marriage and to remind each other that you're husband and wife first?
One of the important things are couple time. You need to be intentional on that. Perhaps another one is that many couples also struggle with financials. Certain things we have limited resources. Time is limited. Financials are limited. But there are also certain things that is unlimited. Love is unlimited. The ability to just say nice things to encourage your spouse is also unlimited. You can say as much, how are you, my honey? How are you, my lovely wife? How was your day? Right? You're doing great. These are things that you can be generous. And so I feel that as couples, let's learn to be generous to each other. Well, if financial means allow, yes, please. Well, if bring your spouse out for a good meal, well, that's good. If time and financials are a constraint, at least words that will do miracles.
So I appreciate Chun Huan through the years. I think patience is something that is difficult. Patience in listening is really not easy for him. And I think he does take time to listen. May not be agreeing, but just taking time to listen and even carving out time in the busy schedule, just a few hours off a week for both of us to do sports or something that we just enjoy. That helps a lot.
So in each episode of the Connect 2 podcast, we take time to address a question that couples often ask about marriage. Today's listener question is this: my wife and I have quite different parenting styles. One of us is stricter, the other more flexible. And it's starting to cause tension between us. Sometimes it feels like we're not on the same team. How can we navigate these differences without constantly clashing? What will we say to this husband?
We are different again. Like for him, he feels that to do well, you go for classes. For me, I like the relaxed approach. You can self-learn. Over time, you will learn. And because of the differences, initially I was a bit upset because it's like, why do I need to go through something which I'm not convinced? But yet we allow each other to, use whatever you feel convicted. I guess that is the beauty of it, because we are different, because he believes in a more structured learning, whereas I believe in a more easygoing learning style. So because of that, it complements each other. Whichever works for the child, as long as there's harmony, I guess that is the best.
But say diversity actually creates a complete solution. If I were to just insist on my own way, well, I guess my kids' exposure will be limited. But because I'm blessed with a wife who is totally different from me, that allows us to really have a difference in views. And actually, it applies also same to the children, that they are also different. A lot of times parents expect the kids to behave the way that, like, I was brought up like that, so you girls better follow the same. But I think it's important for us to recognize that everybody's different. There's no one solution to iron it out. Like what Morica mentioned, I think making the space and the time to listen, not to be quick to respond with an answer, but to allow space to hear the other person first. Whether you agree or not, that's separate. But it's important to at least allow your spouse to speak. It may make sense, it may not make sense, but learning to hear things out and see whether there is a view there that I actually miss. I try to do this. Don't be the person to say the last words. So allow the other party to actually say that last word. It takes a bit of discipline, takes a bit of effort. Well, I guess that's my answer to this husband.
Thank you, Chun Huan and Morica, for sharing how you made marriage work, even though the challenging season of early parenthood affected you, but how you've actually been supporting other couples, how you have learned along the way, and how you're actually repeating that process. You're learning and revisiting the lessons you have learned as well. Before we close, if you could give one piece of encouragement to couples who feel overwhelmed right now, what would it be?
We go back to the foundation. What is our common goal? As a family, we love one another. We love our children. That is our common goal. So we may not agree in the way things are going or the style that we adopt, but again, go back to the common goal. We are working towards this. And then we're building each other up. So take time to reflect, take time to listen to one another. How can we help one another?
Raising a family is not a 100-meter dash. Being overwhelmed at times is natural. I must say it's not going to stop at this point of time. But learning to look at the brighter side of things perhaps is that motivation that allows you to overcome this overwhelming situation. Each family is different. In a way, you and your spouse have to try to sit down and try to see what ways you could resolve this overwhelmness. Is it an issue of not enough manpower? Maybe you really got to look for some outside help. Is it a situation of diverse views about things? Then is there a way we could try to align? So these are the detailed work why you are overwhelmed at this moment. But I'd like to say that look at the brighter side of things. Different stages of life will definitely have different issues. We're still struggling. Doesn't mean we are out of the woods. The kids are older. Now we've got to handle different situations. But I guess that's where the encouragement for all of us is that humans have existed over thousands and years or centuries, and somehow they will figure a way out. So rest be assured, you will figure a way out.
Thank you so much. When I hear you speak about this, it really encourages us that, we will face a challenge, but we have our spouse with us, to journey through life. And so long as we connect, right, heart to heart, and we're able to find solutions as well, it may be different from what we think is the way to go, but we will definitely find a way, and it's complementary, right? We support each other. There'll be seasons when I'm down, there'll be seasons when my spouse is down, but we support one another, and we come out stronger from that. So thank you so much. And to our listeners, here's this week's couple challenge. Take 1 minute each to answer this question together. What is one value I want my child to have? It's a simple but powerful exercise. Not only does it help you align as a couple, it also reminds you that even in the midst of busyness, you're shaping the kind of legacy that your family will carry forward. So thank you once again, Chun Huan and Morica. Our desire is that today's conversation has given you fresh hope and practical encouragement. You can find more resources for family and marriage at family.org.sg. Thank you for tuning in, and if you know someone who might benefit from this conversation, we would love for you to share this podcast with them. Stay connected with us, and we look forward to having you join us again in the next episode.